Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Chevalier, where we are here to help men and women find happy, healthy, and long-term relationships. And like always, it doesn't matter whether you're black, white, Asian, Hispanic, Puerto Rican, South American, or even the penguins in Antarctica, because if you've all noticed, it's starting to get just a little bit colder outside. And speaking of cold, this week's kind of wrap up the Summer of Love series, where I really wanted to get people invested in why dating is so important, because you often hear the same matrices of, be independent, be by yourself, you don't need anybody, and it almost seems like to listen to people who say they want to bring relationships together, they're spilling a lot of ideologies that are tearing relationships apart. The purpose of men and women, if you believe to a certain degree, is to build happy and healthy relationships so you can build the type of families that support, protect, and grow communities. This dating thing has a purpose, and it's supposed to have an end game to it. You date someone, you want to either get married, you want to date someone because you want to have a family, you want to date somebody because you don't want to be alone, and I'm going to deal with you, you're going to deal with me, and we're just going to make this work to the last day of both of our lives. But one way or the other, dating is supposed to have an end game to it. And I think that's why today's topic is so important. Don't settle for less and know your worth. And what that means is, when you first meet someone and you make it known that you want to date each other, on day one, let each other know what your intentions are. Men, if you want to get married, let a woman know that you want to get married. And if you do not want to get married, let a woman know on day one that you do not want to get married. So that way she knows what she's walking into. The same thing for guys. Same thing for women. When you go into a relationship with a guy, let them know straight up what your intentions are. Let men know if you're dating for the purpose of a relationship, or if you're dating for the purpose of marriage, or if you want to have a family, or if you yourself want somebody to sit there with you so you're not sitting there by yourself or waiting to the last day. And this is why last week's topic was so important, because communication is the key effective nature of healthy relationships. 90% of relationships fail due to three things: infidelity, finances, and lack of communication. People who don't take the time to stand up and say what they want from the relationship. And as I tell many of my clients, men and women, let people know on day one what your purpose is. If you're really out here wanting to get married or have a family or want a relationship that's just going to last forever, it's important to express that to people so you don't end up in these situations of so many women who I know who are in these long-term 10-year relationships. They don't go anywhere, they don't have any purpose, and then when it doesn't work, you're torn up, you're hurt, you're emotionally burned out, and now you leave that relationship to go back into the dating market to basically be relentless to the men who've not done anything to you. I speak strongly about therapy because as you go into the dating market, 9 times out of 10, unfortunately, so many guys continue to come across women who are basically making them pay for the debts of the last guy that hurt them. And this is where, as men, you hear very often, you hear ladies say, oh, well, you got to show me first, or you have to prove yourself to me, or, I ain't rushing into nothing until I know if you're the right one. Basically saying that because the last guy hurt me, you got to make up for that. And this is where the know your worth part comes in, because if you intend to meet a woman and her intentions are pure enough to build a relationship, she should not be trying to make you make up for the mistakes of the last guy. Because 9 times out of 10, she didn't make him make up for the mistakes of the previous guy before him. She just just fell in love with him, accepted him, took him in, and then they built their relationship. And too often as men, we sometimes feel like we have to heal these women from, and when I say these women, I don't mean all women. I mean some. 50-50. 50% of women you meet, you're not going to have these issues with. You're going to build great relationships. You're going to hopefully walk down that aisle, and you're going to hopefully build that family. But with the other 50% who, are in their 30s, their 20s, their 40s, and they have not been married yet, 9 times out of 10, from my experience, professionally, is generally they got with some guy who they knew they shouldn't have been with. Because the guy they need, he don't, we'll say for lack of a better word, he doesn't make them happy. So he's boring, or he doesn't look a certain way. So they're not interested in him. So what do? They go after the guy they want, because I'm going to get what I want. It's my body, and I'm going to do what I want to do. And I'm all for that, right? I have nothing against that. I mean, this is America. Live your dream. But you also understand that this is America, and you're going to live your consequences. And when you make so many consequences, and these women get sick of making these consequences, they think, well, I'm sick of this. I'm going to go after the guy I need now. And then the guy they need, they're going to pile on a whole bunch of stuff, because he has to not only make me happy, but he has to heal me and fix the mistakes of the previous guy who I should have never been with in the first place. It's very detrimental and it's ruining. A lot of guys get burned out because they're fixing previous relationships in a current situation. So men, if you ever meet a woman who tells you you have to prove yourself to her, she's not looking to rush, she just wants to see what's out here, she just wants to see where it goes, or any derivative of not being clear about her intentions, block, delete, move on. Because at the end of the day, 9 times out of 10, and I say that a lot because I have over 20 years of experience doing this. The one thing I hear very often are, men who are burned out from trying to heal women from relationships that they should have never been in. It's not your job. And that's why I speak so highly about therapy, and making sure that the first question you hear women say, oh, I'm trying to better myself. I always say the first question as a man you should be asking her, well, who's your therapist? When did you go to therapy? Because 9 times out of 10, all these people are trying to better themselves, and if you ain't been to therapy, you ain't bettering nothing. Nobody, you can't heal yourself. If you're good, you wouldn't have doctors. This is why we have doctors, because people can't heal themselves. You can self-medicate, but that doesn't mean you're going to be better. So that's why at the end of the day, gentlemen, date women who are healed and prepared for relationships. Not settling for less, is the communication part. When you let someone know what you want up front, and you both come to the conclusion that you want the same thing, now you can build those relationships based on what you're looking for. And if you're not looking for the same thing, you have either 2 options. And it's not always just walking away. You can either compromise. Maybe I give you something you want, maybe you give me something I want, and we figure this out equally and together. Or the second option is I'm willing to give up something I want if you're willing to give up something you want, and we can still make this work. So always the first option you hear people say, well, this ain't gonna work, this ain't gonna work. And it's like, well, how can you say something's not gonna work when you didn't even give it a try? Too often people are so antsy to walk away from a good relationship that they don't realize they have a good relationship. So often I hear women say, oh, well, I got to work with him, but he also has to work with you. And if we work together, which I thought was a stringent point, then building the type of relationships people say they want becomes much easier. Build relationships with people who want what you want. On day 1, tell them exactly what you're looking for and ask them exactly what you're looking for. Come to a compromise and make a deal. It's always good to give to someone what you expect them to give unto you. That way nobody feels taken advantage of. Thank you all so much for another episode of Chevalier. Until next time,